Full day, and I know we've got a lot of exciting stuff. I mean, a Memorial Day weekend, I'm sure, is going to be really, really incredible. I know you guys do it very well here, and people have been really flocking here for almost the entire time I was governor. I mean, in really, really major ways, and it's obvious to see why. We've got outstanding coastline here, a great fishing and boating culture. I'm happy to have initiated record red snapper season for the Gulf, which I know our anglers have enjoyed, and we blew that out of the water with this year. And actually, we get to start on Memorial Day. You get to start on red snapper early. So we were talking about what to do, and it's like, okay, we challenged the orthodoxy. We knew there were a lot of fish in the sea. We wanted to make sure people, and honestly, the populations are very healthy as a result of what we were doing. And we wanted to give people, but you got to figure out, even doing the biggest season ever, you pick which, I was like, we got to do Memorial Day weekend. We got to do these key days. So that's really exciting that people are going to be able to do that and have a good time. So we always love coming back to this area. There's a lot to do, and I know it's going to continue to be a great engine economically, not just for people that live and work here, but really for the state as a whole. We're joined here by our Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Executive Director Roger Young, Senator Jay Trumbull, Representative Griffiths, and Ben Special, President of Yamaha's U.S. Marine Business Unit, which I know is a really big deal. And I want to thank him for being here. We take pride in our state of Florida being the best fishing and boating state in the United States of America. And honestly, it's not even close. We're the place to do this. We have more than 7,000 marine businesses that just those businesses alone support over 100,000 jobs across the state. The total economic impact of recreational boating in Florida is over $31 billion. Now, what does that mean? I think most people know that's a lot of numbers, but go back to 2018, that's a 53% increase just since 2018. And part of it was, with COVID, people were like, they wanted to do things, and so I think COVID was probably the best thing that ever happened in terms of pushing, not, media's going to say, oh, he said it was good. No. Don't misquote me. But COVID drove people outside more. And so golf did phenomenal. Boating and fishing did phenomenal. And so I think that really helped drive that people wanted to be outdoors and they wanted to do things, especially new people coming to Florida. And I know there were a lot of people that would move here and they're like, okay, I guess I got to start boating. And so they'd buy a boat. Now, some of them didn't know how to operate the boat, which caused some problems. But we kind of, hopefully can figure that out. I know we've worked hard on that. So you've had this massive boom in outdoor recreation, and we've really been at the forefront of that. We are the top boating state. We consistently rank #1 in marine expenditures and boat registrations. We have over 900,000 boat registrations as of 2023, and probably higher now that we do that. And we have over 4 million licensed anglers, and is known as, and of course, you would expect that being the fishing capital of the world. We've been able to do a lot of really neat things. We did do discounts on sportsman hunting and fishing licenses. We were able to issue more than 75,000 gold sportsman's licenses, which generated $24 million in revenue, even though it was a big discount for the purchaser. We did extend that program to provide even more discounts on several fishing and hunting licenses, including the lifetime licenses. If you want to get out and try your hand at fishing on any of our salt or freshwaters, you can purchase a combined annual fresh and saltwater combo license for just $5. And $5 doesn't buy what it used to buy. So if that's there, that's a pretty good deal. We've also solidified our state's reputation for boating and fishing. We want to continue to do that. So if you look at people that are here, our Florida residents, this is an important part of our culture. It's also an important thing that draws people to want to visit the state of Florida. When I became governor, Florida typically would get about 80 to 90 million visitors a year. And we saw that increase a lot over the years. And most recently, we had 142 million visitors to the state of Florida. Now, I view that as something that can help the economy, all this stuff. I also view it, I would rather have them pay the taxes than us pay the taxes. And so, you have an opportunity. People come, they buy things, they pay taxes on all this. And so we have an opportunity to continue to offload tax burden away from Florida residents and towards some of these 142 million visitors. I mean, I think that only makes sense, and we're probably the only state in the country that can get away with that. That's why I've been going after these property taxes so hard, because we can do something about this. People see property taxes go up because their values of their homes. I just saw the Tampa Bay area saw an increase of 23% going up, and it's because the values have gone up. That's true nationwide, but Florida's been even more because there's been a lot of demand. And so people are now having to pay on a home that they bought 10 years ago for a certain amount. Now they're being told it's worth twice that much, and they got to pay more in taxes. Well, how is that good? And then at what point do they stop taxing you? It's like you engage in transactions, and like you pay a tax. Hopefully you don't have to pay any tax, but if you do, you want it to just pay and then not have to deal with it anymore. And yet on these property taxes, it's like you could be a productive citizen 50 years in your home, and they still hit you up for more and more tax. At some point, you either own your property or you don't. And if they can come in and take the property from you because you're not ponying up tax, then you don't really truly have private property. So this property tax issue is a really big deal. I know where I go and talk with folks around the state, this is the one thing. Now, the state doesn't administer that. That's done locally, and you've had local governments, and, some have been more reasonable and more responsible by rolling back rates so that taxpayers are held harmless, but others have not done that. Others have increased millage rates. And for what? Why would we be going after homeowners? So I think it's a really significant issue. We're going to want to continue to do it. But you have all these people that visit, and it used to be they did the analysis when we used to have 80, 85 million visitors. It was about 18 to 20% of the state sales tax revenue came from those visitors. But now that we have 142 million, I think it's at least a quarter of Florida sales tax revenue, and maybe as much as a third. But then you also have to count in snowbirds. We've got people that live here for 3, 4, 5 months a year who are not Florida residents. They're also contributing to be able to do that. So I view that as a potential for us to really deliver relief to Florida homeowners. That'd be the best thing we can do. We can't control at state government the amount of value that your home goes up or not, or how much a home costs. That's a private market. I think there's a lot of distortions in that market. I think the Fed, how they've mishandled interest rates. We can go on and on about that. But the reality is we're limited in what we can do. But the people of Florida, through their Constitution, have the ability to set or not set taxes, right? So you're able to do big-time reforms. So we're teeing that up, certainly for the 26th ballot, and I think this is really, really important. But nevertheless, we have people coming here, and this is a big reason why they're doing it. We have had the biggest tourism year in Florida history. We have secured an all-time record, almost 16% share of the total domestic visitation market for the entire United States of America is just in Florida. Now, you do the math, we got 23 plus million people. The United States as a whole has 330 plus million people. So we're like 6.5%, 7%, and yet we account for more than double our share of the population in terms of the visitation. So that's really, really good. Now, that's all great, and it's all great to say you're doing good stuff, but my view is we always want to do better. And when it comes to our anglers, our boating community, people that really thrive on enjoying all that Florida has to offer, we do get feedback about, hey, what can be done better? So we've done a number of different things, and we've been working very closely with Senator Jay Trumbull over the last many weeks to make sure that the legislation we're going to sign today actually got across the finish line. I want to thank Representative Griffiths for also leading the charge in the House of Representatives to make sure that we're doing what people expect us to do. So there's been a movement for local governments to regulate the type of vessels you are allowed to purchase regarding energy use. Now look, if you want to buy an electric boat, I mean, I don't think you should be prohibited for it, but you certainly shouldn't be required to do that if you want a boat. You should be able to buy traditional vessels. And so the legislation that we're going to sign today, this Boater Freedom Act, is going to make sure that Florida remains the boater capital of the world. We're going to make sure that boaters are able to choose the type of vessel that they want. We're not going to allow local governments to step in and block the ability to purchase and for the businesses to sell vessels based on the source of fuel that those vessels are using. We know a lot of families opt for used vessels, and of course they're going to be gas powered. People want to be able to afford this, and if you impose these draconian restrictions, you're not going to be able to do it. We also want to right a wrong that has happened in terms of how people are approached on the water by law enforcement. Now, current law allows both state and local law enforcement to pull a boater over when no probable cause or suspected violation has occurred, and to conduct inspections. Inspections may include personal property searches, sometimes leading to further law enforcement action beyond merely safety compliance. Now, people have tried to address this in the past. It hasn't really fully worked, but if you think about it, if you're walking down the street, law enforcement can't just go up to you and stop you and search you if there's not a basis to do that. You got to have probable cause to be able to do it. Same thing if they want to go on your property, or they usually would have to have an actual search warrant by a judge that would say probable cause is there. But even in exigent circumstances, they would never be able to just do this without there being a basis to do it. So, but yet on the water, that really isn't the case. And so you've had people. I mean, we had a guy. It made the video went viral. They board his vessel. They have him blow the breathalyzer, 0.0. Didn't have any, wasn't drinking, and there was no basis to do it. There was no activity that was suspicious. There was no safety violations. There was no reckless boating. And it was this whole thing. This guy ends up getting arrested. And I'm just thinking to myself, that is not what we want. And I know that the folks at FWC and by and large the local law enforcement, have worked really hard to respect this under most circumstances. You had examples where you need swift response. I mean, we just had, there were kids polluting waterways. They were dumping full trash cans of rubbish off their boat. And so you go in and you obviously want to see an intervention there. You see somebody operating a vessel under the influence of alcohol or just recklessly operate. That puts other people in danger. You want to see an intervention there. And I think by this legislation protecting you against suspicionless searches, I think it actually will be a better allocation of resources, not just for FWC, but also for the other local law enforcement agencies who are really important in keeping our people safe. If there's a basis to intervene, that's one thing. And no one's going to say. And you may have probable cause to suspect something, and then it may turn out that things are fine. That's kind of the way it goes. But to just go in without any basis is not the way we want to do it in the state of Florida. And I think it's unnecessarily created friction between the boating community and some folks in law enforcement. So I want to thank Roger Young for really being strong on this, to making sure that our law enforcement efforts are focused, that they're targeted, and that they're really doing what we expect to do, which is identify possible violations, bring people to account, and ultimately protect the safety of everybody else in our communities who are using our waterways. Finally, the legislation I'm signing today will invest in additional boat ramps, parking, and marina programs through Florida Fish and Wildlife that will ensure the public has access to the waters of our great state. both here in Northwest Florida, further down on the Gulf Coast, and our communities on the Atlantic coast. So this is really significant legislation today. I know there's a lot of people throughout Florida that are going to be happy that this legislation finally got across the finish line. I know there was some hurdles along the way, and I know that the folks in the Senate, particularly, we were working very closely with, were able to get it teed up and in a way that led to its passage in both chambers. So thanks for everybody that's been involved. We'll hear from Roger first, and then we'll hear from Senator Trumbull. Roger.
Thank you, Governor. It is an honor to be here. And as always, we appreciate your leadership and your support for our marine industries and our marine resources here in the boating and fishing capital of the world. And hearing your list of accomplishments and promotions that we've done, both in the fishing industry with license promotions and helping promote people to get outside, there is no doubt that you support our citizens and our visitors getting outside and enjoying our great outdoors. And there's no better place to enjoy a day on the water than here in the Panhandle and here in this beautiful community of Panama City. You know, as summer grows near, so does boating season. And as boating season comes, we want to make sure that we're out in full force, making sure everybody's safe on the water. We want everybody to enjoy their time on the water. So this bill will do just that. It will enable us to help keep our families on these waterways safe by us focusing on violations that are occurring that we're seeing. Reckless operation, careless operation on the water, help keeping our waterways safe and keeping our families safe. And don't forget, as the governor said, this is Memorial Weekend coming up, so this marks the start of our Gulf recreational red snapper season here in the Gulf, so we encourage everybody to get your families outside and enjoy that. We want everyone to go out and enjoy our environment and to fish and to boat and enjoy the outdoors with your families, because that's really what it's all about. It's what living in Florida is all about. And Governor, I want to thank you for your continued support as we work together to provide more access, more freedoms, and more opportunities for the Floridians and visitors here in Florida to keeping this the great free state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jay.
Thank you so much, Governor DeSantis, for your unwavering support and leadership in making sure that Florida continues to stay the most free state in the nation and being a model for defending our individual liberties and putting Floridians' rights first. I really do want to point out Representative Griffiths and recognize him. We can't get anything done without both chambers, and your work, sir, and your commitment on this issue is incredibly important. It helps that both of us boat on a regular basis and have a very sensitive ear to other boaters as they're on the water and hearing some of their frustrations. You know, with the signing of this bill, Senate Bill 1388, the Boater Freedom Act, we're reaffirming that the principles of freedom and limited government do not stop at the shoreline. At its core, the Boater Freedom Act is about protecting personal freedoms and preventing government overreach. The right to move freely without being stopped or questioned without cause is fundamental in a free society. And the right should apply whether you're on the highway or on the water. We do respect our law enforcement officers and their mission, but there has to be a balance. This bill is about restoring common sense to marine enforcement. It's about trusting the vast majority of Floridians who are doing the right thing and letting law enforcement officers focus on those who are truly violating the law. We're not removing oversight, we're reinforcing fairness. Boater safety will continue to be a top priority, and the law doesn't eliminate inspections. It ensures that they happen at for the right reasons and not at random. I'm thankful and very proud to stand with the governor as we reaffirm that Florida is and always will be a place where freedom is protected on land and on water. And to every boater who's reached out to us, thank you for sharing their experiences. I've shared this story and I'll share it with you in my closing statement here. I have a neighbor who was stopped 3 times in one day last year for no reason, just a random safety inspection. That's got to stop, and it's going to stop today, and allow people the opportunity for their constitutional rights to continue, not just to continue once they get off the dock. Thank you, Governor.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Special, as he mentioned. I'm with Yamaha. I've been with Yamaha for over 40 years. I'm actually sitting in this room. I'm a little bit of a gearhead, a geek, and I'm looking at every one of these engines that say Yamaha on. I've been involved with since conception. So I'm very excited about what you're doing. I was just in Washington, D.C., and I hope you don't mind, but I used Florida as the lighthouse example of what's doing right for the marine industry and for marine consumers. As I explained to some of the outreach to the White House is don't forget what you're doing is you're helping everyday people go boating. The boats behind me right here are relatively small boats. Those are the things I really focus on. What I'm proud about this legislation that you're doing in Florida, I hope to be able to take to other states to show is the Boating Freedom Bill is about all technology should be available to boaters. We shouldn't limit it. I can give you a dissertation on the reason why. I've been in several meetings with the EPA on why you can't have these select technologies. You got to use the broad technologies because boating is very unique. The other part of what I'm proud about you guys are doing is making grants for more water access. I like to tell my friends and stuff that I look really smart when the industry grows. You know what the biggest barrier of that? Access to fish and access to water. The more boat slips, the more ramps, the more capabilities, everyday people can go boating, the industry will grow. And that creates jobs both here and in many other states. I know many of the companies that have built these boats and these components, and they really appreciate Florida. I travel the globe for Yamaha, and I use Florida as the lighthouse for the marine industry. It's sad to see other countries not have this type of water access. And access to everyday consumers, it's important that you're doing this stuff. Very proud of what you're doing down here, and we thank you very, very much. And I do have to say one comment. We woke up yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, after flying from Washington, D.C. back to Louisville. We live in Atlanta. My lovely wife spent 12 and a half hours driving me down here yesterday because of this event. That's how important it was to me. So I cannot express to you enough how important it is. And I know we have other items we want to work on getting South Atlantic right, like we did in the Gulf of Mexico some years ago. And I'm very passionate about making sure that gets done with NOAA Fisheries. So thank you very, very much, and I'll be around for a little bit if you have any questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I think everybody in this room knows that we have a friend in Governor DeSantis. He was here as a candidate before Hurricane Michael. He's been here ever since. We've seen him through COVID. We've seen him through every wildfire, the events that have really traumatized Bay County. In Bay County's comprehensive plan, it talks about water access. It's truly written in our comprehensive long-term plan for the citizens of Bay County. This bill helps address that. Senator Trumbull, who, I appreciate the credit he gives me, but this was truly some legislative chess work from our senator. We have a great advocate in the Senate for us who is going to shine in the next few years. With his chess work, I promise you, we got this across the finish line. It was very, very fun to watch it evolve over the last few days and to watch some of the surprise faces how we finished this project. I will tell you, water access, that bay, I learned to water ski right up this back door here. I got my first little John boat from my dad when I was 12 years old. I have run this bay from one end to the other. I have fished every little nook and cranny. And I've also been pulled over by most of the FWC officers out here. They're great guys. They're amazing officers. They do a great job, and they protect our waterways. And that's the intent of this bill, is to put them back on the perspective where they really need to go out and protect the waterways and concentrate on those bad actors that we have in this bay. We do have some bad actors. We want to thank y'all for all being here. We know that y'all love this bay and the waterways of Bay County as much as I do. Thank the governor, his staff, Cody Farrell, who and I have been talking about this bill for over 3 years now. I'm glad to see it get over the finish line, and thank y'all for being here. We appreciate it.
All right, let's get it done. Big one, and this is the add-on. All right, who wants a pen? You want one, buddy? All right, anyone else? Okay, but I got one more. All right, here we go. I want you guys to hold that up for the camera. I'll hold this one up. Here, you help hold it up with me. There we go. All right, another one in the books, guys. thanks so much. We have been working on this for a while. I'm glad it got across the finish line, and I know a lot of people will be very much appreciative. I do want to take a moment as we get into Memorial Day weekend, as people are going to enjoy the largest Gulf red snapper season since state assumed management in the history of the state, which is in this era. We need to do the same in the Atlantic. I think they had 1 or 2 days last year where you all had 103, or what was it? Some over 100 here. We're going to do much, and we're going to do much more than that this time. Don't tell. It's the same thing. The federal bureaucracies, everything, they inhibit access. They have flawed data. We could do the same thing in the Atlantic, just like we've done here in the Gulf. I could tell you everything is thriving. The populations are strong. The anglers are having a great time. It's important for our culture, for tourism. So we can do the same thing over there. So we have put in a request through the Department of Commerce and the NOAA agency. Send us the management of the Atlantic red snapper. We will do it very strongly, just like we've done in the Gulf. And I think a lot of people will be very, very happy. I mean, I can tell you that if we're able to announce that the state has resumed management in the Atlantic, we will be able to move very quickly to get some dates out, and people will be thrilled if that were able to happen. So I think it's something that we've gotten good signals from the administration, because they are trying to empower the states. So this is a great opportunity to be able to do that in a way that's going to make a meaningful difference, not just to our residents, but for the people that really love coming and visiting Florida. Okay, we got any questions?
Governor, one of the things Senator Trumbull said was restoring some of the common sense practices back into some of these things like these stops. What specific portions of what this bill is going to be going at would you say lacks common sense as far as the stops or weapons?
Well, I think what the senator said, I mean, when you have somebody who is stopped 3 times in one day without there ever being a basis to stop them, then you know something's wrong. The way we do things in America is government's supposed to leave you alone. If there's something you're doing that gives law enforcement a basis, and it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt you've committed a serious crime. It could be reasonable suspicion, probable cause, depending on the circumstances. And I saw Tommy Ford here. These guys all know what they do in regular police practicing. So when you say you could just board a vessel and start searching for no reason, it's not even like people are doing anything wrong and that they're worried that they're going to get discovered, although they could find something that they didn't have a basis to that would normally not be allowed. But I think it's more just people feel like they're being violated to have someone come in and start rummaging through. It's just not how we do. It's the same thing if someone wanted to come in and just start searching your house without a basis. People just would feel that that's something that's wrong, even if there was no wrongdoing involved in terms of that law enforcement found anything. So I just think it cuts contrary. I don't think that that's how most of our officers have actually behaved. I think a lot of them have been very respectful and very professional. But I also just know, the law being what it was, the prior attempts to get this in a better place weren't really successful. You have had these situations. So I think because of what the senator and Representative Griffiths did, I think this is going to end the issue once and for all. I think we finally have great protections for people, and I think